In today's video, we're talking about emotional crumbs and how people use them to keep you holding on in their casual dating networks. I make videos that help you have the best sex of your life. And in this video, we're getting into some pretty shady stuff. So if you like your social psychology served with a side of dating and relationships, definitely stick around. Now, I've made a few videos about casual dating apps and casual dating in general. There's always something fascinating about how people behave when they're not necessarily looking for the same thing. It's just really interesting. And I've made a few videos talking about sort of the tactics that people will use within those apps to get what they want, whether it's attention, whether it's sex, whether it's just connection. There's all kinds of really fascinating ways that people interact with one another when they're not necessarily looking for a long-term exclusive relationship. And so today we're going to take a look at what I call emotional crumbs, which is a pattern of behavior in which a person shows interest in another person intermittently, but consistently without any real intention of making an emotional commitment. Let's break that down a little bit more. So the first part is that it's a pattern of behavior. This isn't a one-off kind of thing. We all get busy. We all go through periods where we're more available than other times and less available than other times. But emotional breadcrumbs is a pattern of behavior. It's the person staying in touch with you, but not fully, engaging with you but not fully, flirting with you but not committing to anything. Then the second piece is that it's intermittent but consistent. So people who give out emotional breadcrumbs do so in a very careful way. They stay in touch with you enough that you never quite give up on them, but they never quite make enough of an emotional commitment to you that you would be able to feel secure in the relationship. And it's this combination of the two, the intermittent but consistent pattern of behavior, that makes emotional breadcrumbs so effective. I know you might be thinking right now, this sounds really negative. Why are we even talking about this? Well, emotional crumbs can be used by people for a variety of reasons. Some people do it simply because they don't want to be alone, but they also don't want to make any kind of real emotional commitment, so they string a bunch of people along. They keep themselves at the center of a network of people who are all emotionally available to them, but they never really reciprocate. So it is basically like having a bunch of friends with benefits, without actually having to have benefits with any of them. Other people will use emotional crumbs as a way of getting validation. Maybe they don't necessarily want sex or even friendship, but they do like the idea of knowing that people are available for them, that people like them, that people want them. And so they engage just enough to keep those feelings of being wanted alive. However, emotional crumbs can also be a tactic that people will use in order to get what they want. In particular, I see this happening in casual dating apps, where someone will flirt really heavily with someone for a little while, show a lot of interest, engage a lot, talk about how great they are together, how awesome the chemistry is, and then pull away and then repeat the cycle over and over again. People who use emotional crumbs in this way often do it with multiple people at once. They'll string a bunch of people along, keeping each person engaged at different times. Sometimes they'll overlap and engage with multiple people at once. And the effect of this is that everyone feels really strongly about their interest in them, but no one ever feels fully secure. This is actually a very common tactic in casual dating apps and social networks because the people using it are able to get exactly what they want. They get validation, they get sex, they get companionship, and they never have to actually make any kind of real emotional commitment. People who use emotional crumbs tend to get a certain kind of person, someone who wants a casual no-strings-attached kind of arrangement but doesn't know how to ask for it directly. They get people who are afraid of commitment, who would rather have a network of casual flings than actually have to make an emotional commitment to one person. They get people who are afraid of vulnerability, or who are afraid of actually being honest about what they want. Why is that? Well, think about it this way. If you use emotional crumbs, you get to decide how much you want to give of yourself, how much you want to share of yourself, how much time you want to invest in someone. You can be as emotionally distant as you want and still get all the things you want from the relationship: attention, sex, validation, companionship. You can get all of those things without actually having to make an emotional commitment. That is why so many people use emotional crumbs. I mean, think about it this way. What does it take to build an emotional connection with someone? It takes vulnerability. It takes letting someone in, letting someone see your true self, sharing your experiences, sharing your feelings, sharing your stories. And that can be scary. People can be afraid of vulnerability. People can be afraid of showing their true selves. It can also be really difficult to be honest about what we want. And this is especially true when what we want is at odds with what the other person wants. Think about it this way. If you were to be honest about what you want, there's always the chance that the other person doesn't want the same thing as you. And if you're emotionally invested in the other person, that can be really painful to hear. It can be really painful to acknowledge that the other person doesn't want the same thing as you. And so sometimes it's easier to use emotional crumbs. It's easier to string someone along, to make them think that there might be more there, to keep your options open, rather than risk losing the other person by being honest about what you want. People who use emotional crumbs tend to be very careful about how they manage other people's expectations. They will deliberately keep things open-ended, never make plans too far in advance, never talk about being together in the future. They will make sure that there is no possibility of the other person getting their hopes up too high. And this is why emotional crumbs can be so devastating. On one hand, it's easy to see the manipulative tactics that the person is using. You can see that they're keeping you at arm's length. You can see that they're never really investing in the relationship the way that you're investing in them. You can see that they're playing with your emotions, keeping you engaged, but never fully satisfied. But on the other hand, it can be hard to let go of someone who seems like they could be the one, someone who you have great chemistry with, someone who makes you laugh, someone who knows how to please you. It can be hard to let go of that person even when you know that they're never going to make you happy, never going to give you the kind of relationship that you actually want. People who use emotional crumbs tend to be very careful about how they manage other people's emotions. They will deliberately keep things open-ended, never make plans too far in advance, never talk about being together in the future. They will make sure that there is no possibility of the other person getting their hopes up too high. And this is why emotional crumbs can be so devastating. On one hand, it's easy to see the manipulative tactics that the person is using. You can see that they're keeping you at arm's length. You can see that they're never really investing in the relationship the way that you're investing in them. You can see that they're playing with your emotions, keeping you engaged, but never fully satisfied. But on the other hand, it can be hard to let go of someone who seems like they could be the one, someone who you have great chemistry with, someone who makes you laugh, someone who knows how to please you. It can be hard to let go of that person, even when you know that they're never going to make you happy, never going to give you the kind of relationship that you actually want. If you're experiencing emotional crumbs, the best thing to do is to be honest about what you want. And be willing to walk away if the other person is unable to meet your needs. It can be scary to put yourself out there, to be vulnerable, to be honest about what you want, but it's the only way to create a relationship that is fulfilling for both people involved. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please leave me a thumbs up. I love reading your comments. And remember, you can subscribe here, and you can also check out all my social media channels. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.